pack your heart, pack your everything, and just leave. No, this is not the person for you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been so long. I feel like it's been forever, but I'm back. I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ela-Marie, and this channel is all about love, life, and relationships. If you have been here and you have been consistently coming, I appreciate you. I love you. Welcome back. So today we're going to talk about red flags in a relationship. A lot of times we actually ignore a lot of things that we should be focusing on in relationships. What is a red flag? Basically, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, anything that makes you start to really ask yourself questions, anything that makes you feel a bit low about yourself, usually you should consider it. But the thing about it is that it's not that you just term it a red flag just because you don't like it, because sometimes things that are good for us, we don't like them. So you should be able to have a conversation with your spouse and really see if that thing is really something that maybe is a miscommunication or is a misconception that you have. If it is, then you can work it out. So communication is very important. But if it's not, and it's still something that you realize that this thing is really something that makes me really uncomfortable, don't just throw it away for the sake of love. Because the things that we ignore right now, in the future, they start to be the things that bother us the most and the thing that we feel like we cannot live with anymore. So if there's something that, as you're in a relationship with your partner right now, you feel like it's very off, don't just throw it away. Don't just ignore it. Maybe there's a hit, a slap one time, or an abusive word one time, or anything like that. You should not just ignore it like, oh, I mean, he was angry at that point in time, or she was in a bad mood, and so that's the excuse. You give excuses for it because right now you're in a relationship, so you can probably ignore it. But in the future, it becomes harder and harder and harder to ignore. And sometimes the things that you tolerate, then the person subconsciously or consciously feels like they can continue doing it. I feel like relationships, people feel like, to show commitment, there's no way out. I feel like relationships, if there's something wrong, you can walk out. That's the time to walk out. When it gets to marriage, it becomes harder. So let's go through some red flags in a relationship. So number one is where your spouse or your partner is not accountable for their actions. So let's just say they make a mistake. They don't feel like they are making a mistake, or they don't feel like what they did is wrong. And most of the time, those kind of people always play victim. Everybody else is wrong and they are right, or everybody else is out to get them. If you see signs like that and it's a continuous thing, you know, sometimes we feel we make mistakes and we don't realize we have made mistakes. But usually when we are told about the mistakes, you should be able to own up to it. Especially, you should be able to assess it and be able to tell, nah, this thing that I did was not right. But you know, there's some people that every single person is wrong except them. Every other person is a villain and they are the victims. So if you see these traits in your partner, I think you should really be considering certain things. You should really look out for more and want to check it out a bit more to see whether you can live with it. Number two, they talk bad about their exes. I know sometimes people have been, sometimes you've been through a lot with your exes, or you have probably gone through, some of the exes can be really toxic and stuff like that, and that's why you had to move on. But eventually, you should be able to forgive them. You should be able to heal and move past everything that happened in the past. So if your spouse or your partner is still hanging on to whatever happened in their relationship or their past relationship, it means they have not healed yet. And that is a red flag, because if they have not healed yet, they shouldn't even be in a relationship in the first place, because healing takes time, and there's a possibility that they will start transferring some of the things that, or ideologies that they have based on their exes, on you. So that should be a red flag, because forgiveness is a quality that should be in your relationship. So over the years, if they've healed, they should have forgiven their exes. I mean, you don't have to be friends with your exes. I think I did a video on that, whether or not to keep your exes. So you can go check it out if you've not watched it before. Number 3, they lie about little things. You know, some people, they're like, where did you go? And maybe they may not have gone to another girl, another guy's place, but they're not willing to tell you. They lie about petty things. To me, I think it's a red flag, because if you can lie to me about the petty things, then when it becomes a huge deal, or when there are big things, like you make a huge mistake of cheating or saying something to somebody that you shouldn't have said about me, or something like that, how will you be able to tell me? You will not be able to tell me, because even maybe your whereabouts you cannot tell me, let alone if you really do something very serious. So if you see your partner and your partner lies about certain things, and when they are confronted about it, maybe they just brush it off, or they're quick to say sorry to just cut the thing off, you should be watching out for these things, because they may seem small today but the future has a lot in store. Because as I said earlier, you entertain little things, they become bigger things, and then you may not be able to entertain them anymore or cope with them anymore. Then where do you go to? Number 4 is where you feel the need to change them, or you feel like, oh, if I'm with them, they will change, or being with them over some time, they will change. I think that's one of the biggest lies that has ever happened. I'm not saying that there haven't been a few people who have changed people by being with them, but honestly, that is not the best solution ever. If you feel like you want to change somebody, you can try to do that as a friend. You don't necessarily have to be in a relationship with the person to be able to change the person. If the person cannot understand that, well, that's the person's problem, but it's not your duty to change anybody, or your duty to see to it that somebody changes or becomes a better person. You can help, and I feel like as Christians, supporting each other is a very important thing, and making sure that we are equally yoked, or making sure that we're all better, is a very good thing. But you can do that as a friend. You don't have to do that as a spouse or as a partner. That's very dangerous, because the more you entertain that as a spouse, there's no incentive for the person to actually change, because you're with me despite the way I am. So eventually it's like I'll feel very comfortable. Familiarity will set in. But if you're a friend, maybe that will give the person more of an incentive to really work, because you're not there yet. And so it's like, you know how people, when you're friends, they put in more work. When you're dating, the work reduces a bit. When you get to a point, the work reduces a bit. But as a friend, I think the person will be on their toes, because then the person doesn't know whether or not you still be with them, so the person will work harder. But when you're with them in the relationship, you forgive them anyway, so what's the point? So our last tip number 5 is coming from a spiritual perspective, speaking to God about it and hearing him clearly say, or seeing signs that he's saying no, but you still feel like you need to hold on to the person, or you're still holding on to the person despite the fact that your spirit man is telling you that no, this is not the person for you, but you still hold on to the person, maybe hoping that God will change his mind or something. I feel like some people feel like that, like, oh, maybe God will change his mind, maybe he'll become a better person and please God, and maybe his mind will change about this person. But I feel like if deep inside your spirit man just lets you know that this person is not for you, or you shouldn't be in this relationship. I've been there and it didn't turn out right. It doesn't look good. I know it doesn't speak well, and a lot of people don't tend to understand things like that, where you deep inside, it doesn't mean that you feel like the person is a bad person. It's not always that you are not supposed to be in a relationship with someone because they are bad. But sometimes they're just not it for you. It's not always that it's clear, like, hey, my daughter, my son, no, this is not the person for you. But sometimes, especially if you build a relationship with the Holy Spirit, you feel it in your spirit that this person is just not the right person, good or not. The person is just not the right person, so I have to move on. You have to, when you feel that way, pack your bags. Like, I don't mean literally, because I'm sure you'll not be staying with a person, but just pack your heart, pack your everything, and just leave. So these are the tips I have for you today. I hope I helped somebody out there. I hope you were able to see yourself in some of them. It's not always that it's your partner. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes when you look at these tips or you hear these tips, assess yourself first before you assess your partner, because you may be the toxic one, or you may be the one giving off the red flags, and maybe be blaming somebody else for it. So on this note, I want to say thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and to like. Till another day, I say